Every line holds a story that was never told, and behind every drawing, a fear slowly comes to life. Welcome to Drawn to Fear, where true stories turn into nightmares. You might think it's just a story, until you realize it could happen to you too. Get ready.
Imagine hearing gunshots downstairs while you're hiding in a bedroom during a Halloween party. That's exactly what happened to me and my friends when masked intruders broke in. Two of our friends didn't make it out alive. This is the true story of how a Halloween celebration turned into a nightmare, leaving permanent scars on everyone who survived. I'll never forget the sound of Jen and Robbie's last screams or how the trauma destroyed Nick, the homeowner, in the year that followed. Nick's Halloween party started like any other. Loud music, people in costumes, the usual crowd of friends hanging out. Upstairs, a few of us were in one of the bedrooms, talking and smoking. The house was packed, but everything felt normal until we heard the first scream. At first I thought someone was just messing around. Then the shouting got louder, and the banging started. The door burst open so hard it hit the wall. Three men stood there all wearing masks, the kind you see in movies, fedoras, dark coats, gloves. One of them yelled at us to get down. He kept shouting about money, demanding Nick bring him 100,000 in cash. I remember the way his voice cracked, like he was angry but also scared. Then the first gunshot went off. I dove under the bed. The smell was the first thing I noticed, sharp and bitter in the air. Someone was crying, begging them to stop. Then more shots. I could hear Jen screaming, then nothing. Robbie tried to fight back, and one of the men turned on him. It was so fast. 1 second he was standing, the next, he was on the floor. The men dragged Nick downstairs. I could hear them yelling, then another shot. Everything got quiet after that, too quiet. When I finally crawled out from under the bed, the room was wrecked, bottles smashed, clothes scattered. Jen and Robbie were still where they'd fallen. I couldn't look at them for long. The cops showed up fast, but it didn't matter. The men were gone. No fingerprints, no tracks outside, just gone. The police asked a lot of questions, but nobody had good answers. They said it was a robbery, but the way they asked for Nick by name, the way they knew exactly where to go, it didn't feel random. Nick changed after that night. He stopped throwing parties, stopped leaving the house. We hung out a few times, but he wasn't the same. He started using again, harder than before. The last time I saw him he looked bad, thin, shaky. He kept talking about the guilt, how it was his fault for letting them in. I told him it wasn't, but he didn't believe me. A year later he was dead. Heroin, overdosed. The cops ruled it an accident, but those of us who were there knew better. Jen and Robbie were gone. Nick was gone, and the men in the masks still out there. That's the worst part. They just walked away like nothing happened. The police never found them, and it wasn't just some random break-in. Someone wanted something from Nick, and they were willing to kill for it. 2 people died that night, but the real cost was higher. It's been years, and I still hear the gunshots sometimes when I close my eyes. Halloween parties, I don't go to those anymore. I was home alone on Halloween, sitting on my couch watching TV around 10 p.m. when the first knock came. I ignored it, figuring it was just late trick-or-treaters, even though I didn't have any candy to give out. Then it came again, 3 sharp knocks at the front door. Still, I didn't move. A few minutes later, more knocking, louder this time, almost pounding. I muted the TV and just listened. Something about it felt wrong. Knocks spaced exactly 3 seconds apart, too deliberate to be kids messing around. I walked over and looked through the peephole but saw nothing. That's when I heard footsteps moving down the hallway outside. I locked the deadbolt loud enough for whoever was there to hear it. The knocking stopped for about 10 minutes, long enough for me to go back to my show. Then it started again, but not at the front door this time. Right at my bedroom door. I froze. My bedroom was down the hall, nowhere near an exterior wall. There's no way someone outside could be knocking. There, the sound was unmistakable. 3 knocks, just like before. Then silence. 3 more knocks. I stood up slowly, trying not to make noise. My hands were shaking as I reached into my bedside drawer, fumbling for anything I could use as a weapon. All I found was an old Swiss Army knife. The doorknob rattled. Not like someone testing if it was locked, like someone twisting it hard, trying to force it open. I backed up against the wall, staring at the door. There was no other way out except the second-story window. That's when I remembered my phone. I pulled up YouTube, searched gunshot sound effect, and cranked the volume all the way up. My hands were sweating so bad I almost dropped it. One loud bang played through my phone speakers. The knob stopped moving instantly. Complete silence. I waited 5 full minutes before calling 911. My voice sounded thin when I told the operator someone might be inside my apartment when the cops arrived. They found my front door unlocked and wide open. That didn't make sense. I'd never unlocked it after putting in the deadbolt. They searched the whole place but found nothing. No footprints. No signs of forced entry. The strangest part, I'd sprinkled flour on the floors earlier since Halloween. Pranks in my neighborhood sometimes involved breaking in and moving stuff around. Not a single footprint showed in it, not even mine, since I hadn't walked in the kitchen or living room after putting it down. The officer taking my report kept saying it was probably just kids messing with me. But who runs away that fast after hearing a gunshot, and why would they unlock my front door from the inside? I moved out 2 weeks later. The landlord didn't ask why, he just nodded when I told him, like he already knew. That apartment stayed empty for almost a year after I left. I still don't know who or what was knocking that night, but I keep my windows locked every Halloween now, just in case. It was midnight on Halloween when my phone rang for the first time. I was home alone, watching a movie, and almost didn't answer. But I picked up, thinking it might be my friend Daryl messing with me. There was no greeting, just heavy breathing. Then a whisper, "I'm watching you." The line went dead. I laughed it off at first. Daryl loved dumb pranks, especially on Halloween. But when the phone rang again 20 minutes later, something felt off. Same silence, same breathing. Then the voice came back, clearer this time. "I'm in your house." I remember sitting up straighter, glancing around the living room. Nothing looked out of place. I told myself it was just Daryl being creepy, but my hands were sweating. The third call came at 12:45 a.m. This time, the voice described my living room, the blue couch, the TV still playing quietly, even the blanket I had draped over my legs. That's when I stood up fast, knocking over my soda. No way Daryl could see all that from outside. I was about to call the cops when the power cut out. Complete darkness stopped. My phone lit up with another call. The screen said caller, kitchen, which app made no sense. Our cordless phone base was in the kitchen, but I hadn't touched it all night. I didn't pick up. That's when I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate, coming toward the living room. I grabbed a lamp off the side table, holding it like a weapon. The footsteps stopped right outside the doorway, then nothing, just silence. I was about to dial 911 when someone grabbed my shoulder from behind. I screamed and spun around, swinging the lamp. It was Daryl. His face was bone white, eyes wide. He swore he hadn't called me. Said he'd just gotten there because he was worried he'd been trying to call my cell all night, but it kept going to voicemail. I showed him the call log. None of his numbers matched the ones that had called me. We checked the house together. The fuse box in the basement was open, wires snipped clean. The cordless phone base in the kitchen was warm, like it had been used recently. Daryl insisted we call the police. The cops traced the calls to a payphone outside a bar 3 miles away. They dusted for prints on the fuse box, but found nothing. Daryl and I gave statements, but the officers kept exchanging looks, like they didn't believe something. I moved out a month later. Daryl helped me pack. While we were clearing out the kitchen, he found something under the fridge, a small black device with wires. Neither of us knew what it was. He called the cops again, but they said it was just old electronics. I still don't know who made those calls, or why they cut the power. But here's what bothers me most. Daryl swore he came over because he was worried about me. But that night, my cell phone showed 0 missed calls from him. And the front door was locked when he got there. He had to knock. So how did he get inside?